So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe, where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be? Or in other words, conquer their dyslexia. That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast. Hi guys, I hope we're doing alright. I hope we're doing good. Today I want to talk to everyone about decisions that we have to make in conquering our dyslexia and to actually be on this journey to really maximizing it and the power of what decisions are. Because the ultimate is like when you have dyslexia, you have something that you think is holding you back. It seems like it's holding you back. It's in reality, it's your decisions that really dictate of how much it holds you back. Because we can make some decisions where we make some decisions and it has a negative impact. For example, I want to lose weight. I make a decision I want to eat loads of food. I have dyslexia. I make a decision that I'm not going to work on it. I'm not going to go to school. Negative impacts. And oftentimes we feel like there's no decision, don't we? We feel like this is just too hard. I can't do it. This is impossible. I have to do this. I can't stay at school another day. I can't stay at this job another day. I can't complete this task. And it seems like we have no decision because we're at an emotional threshold where we can't pass this barrier anymore because it's too painful. We don't experience it anymore, and therefore we make a decision that can oftentimes maybe be negative for us. Sometimes not. Sometimes we make a decision saying, that's it, I've had enough of this job, and then you find another job and it suits your needs so much more, and it actually can be a gift making that decision. But some decisions saying like, I'll never ever be able to read, like some decisions like not everyone discriminates against me, I'll never be able to have a relationship or have friends because of my dyslexia. These decisions will massively negatively impact our life, and like the quality of life is really based around the quality of our decisions. What we decide to do and what we decide not to do is critically important when having dyslexia and when in life. But I want to talk about how dyslexia affects us as people. I know, like me, I made the decisions for most of my life with dyslexia to go with the flow, to see how it is. You know what I mean? Just because I was growing up and I've got dyslexia, but let's go with the flow. Let's see how it is. And yes, I may be failing in this, and yes, I may be failing in that. But that's what it is. This is my dyslexia. This is how things are. And what I realised at the time is it was not massively negative. I wasn't conscious of it. I really made the decision not to not to work on it. And we'll cover that. There's two fundamental decisions. We'll cover that. But I really made a decision of not to work on it, not to see it, not to really think it. But I really want us to understand decisions are so powerful, okay? And when you make a decision like to conquer our dyslexia, guess what that helps? That doesn't just help us get better at our reading and writing. That doesn't just help us get better at our confidence. And with our dyslexia, where we're at a point where we wanted to be just like everyone else, we're at a point that's so much more better. Like when I say better, I mean, like, for example, you want to conquer dyslexia, work really hard on it, and then you will look back at all your days and weeks and months of hard work and really try and improve it and doing loads of things. You look back at it and think, oh my God, look at me now. Look at my life now. It's so amazing because you had to overcome this challenge. You have to overcome this obstacle, this adversity. And because you've had to overcome it, guess where that you can be? You can be in a place that's so much more powerful than you would be without this challenge, without this adversity. Because if you look at any book, any good story like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all these amazing stories out there, the quality of the hero is in direct proportion by the amount of the threat, the quality of the threat. How big is the obstacle? How big is that mountain you have to climb? How big is that baddie they have to beat? If the baddie's way up here, like in Star Wars, Luke has to defeat Darth Vader, who's like the biggest person ever, like in Lord of the Rings. Frodo, this person from nowhere, in this lovely little town, had to go into Mordor and put that ring in the fire. That's an adventure. That is adversity. And because someone had to go through this adversity, they become a hero. And imagine how Luke Field, after he, like, we didn't defeat Darth Vader, after he completed that, after Frodo dropped that ring in the lava, imagine how would they feel about themselves? Would they feel more confident or less confident they started the journey? Would they feel more empowered or less empowered? Would they feel more proud or less proud? Do they feel like they could do more things or less things than they did at the start of the journey? And guess what? At the start of their journeys, they didn't think they would end up at this high peak, thinking, oh, I'm so powerful, I can do all these things. They didn't think they would end there. They just started the journey. And they can look back thinking, oh my God, look what I have created. And that is the challenge that we have to face, because we've got dyslexia, we've got our mountain, we've got our villain that you have to overcome. And it's our decisions on overcoming that villain that dictates our quality of our life. Because guess what? If we go at it full forward with our spears charging and thinking, I'm going to conquer my dyslexia, not like this is this big massive negative thing, but I'm going to turn this thing into an advantage because it can be done. And in the process of doing that, our life will be better than we ever believed it would be, because of what we'll be able to do. And the further we go down the journey of improving our English, improving our dyslexia, we won't stop there. Like, I could do this, now what else can I do? I conquered my dyslexia, I improved my reading and writing, I'm so much more confident. Now what I can do, because like with me, I realised about improving my confidence, I worked incredibly hard on it, I improved it. Like, what else can I do now? Then I got really into my fitness, working really hard with my boxing and even beating other people up in the ring. And like, what can I do now? And I was focused on like life coaching, I was focused on personal training, I was focusing on so many different things. I was really passionate in health coaching, all these sort of things that I was really diving deep into, because I thought I wanted the next level of things, because I was on that momentum, and that momentum has not stopped. All because of the journey of conquering my dyslexia. It's who you become in the process. Because I remember when I basically, like, after I massively improved my English and I felt on top of the world, I asked myself, why is my life so much more different than like the people around me? Why couldn't I wait to go home and to work on these things and learn and improve, and everyone else couldn't just wait to go to the pub or wait for Friday? Well, I was thinking, because I asked a series of questions, and then I ultimately realised I'm at this point in time because I had to go through so much struggle in the past with my dyslexia. And then I realised dyslexia is such a gift in my life, and it's so, so, so powerful. So I really want people to understand that and understand, like, listen, not when you look about stories, but all the great people. If you look at all the great people in our society today, the Oprah Winfrey's, the Tom Cruises, Albert Einsteins, loads of people like The Rock, like Kevin Hart, loads of really successful people, Tony Robbins, and you have to look at what did they have to overcome to get where they are now. And if you look at their past is not filled with everything, all the money, all the help, all the support, everything handing in a plate. Their life is not started. Their life is horrible. Their life is tragic. That in the growing up, Kevin's father was a rubbish father. He did all these different things, and growing up poor. Same thing with The Rock. Same thing with so many other famous people out there. If you look at Oprah Winfrey, her growing up was so terrible. If you had to look at it on a piece of paper, her. So many bad things happened. Like, she was born, her mum was like 14, 15 years old, and that was terrible. And I can't go into details because it's so dreadful. But then she's ended up to be the woman she is now. So many people out there, like, look at them, musicians, whatever. They went through so much rubbish, and now they're where they are now. There's loads of people who took some of this pain and used it for something good. You say, I've experienced this. I don't want anyone ever in the world to experience the same pain. And they go out and they do it, or they go out and put this into another area. I'm going to do this for my family. I'm going to do this for fixing this problem. And they create such a beautiful thing. And then there's other people who go through extreme pain, or even not even go through extreme pain, and then don't make certain decisions, and they don't use what they have. And then they can start blaming the things around them, like, oh, this person did this, that person did that, and like blaming about why they are where they are. If you know yesterday, like, what we spoke about yesterday, about responsibility and about like the 4 levels was of responsibility, and level 1 was blame. You blame everyone for the way things are. And the reason why not improving, that's critically important to really like understand. So the successful people out there, they went through so much rubbish, and it's in that rubbish, it's in that journey you become you become so much more than you could ever think you have. So there's one more thing like critically important I think people need to understand. When you're trying to look for dyslexic help, you know this if you're listening to this podcast or whatever. You know that dyslexia help alone is not everything. Dyslexic help alone is not everything. If I had to tell you about all the about just helping you with your dyslexic difficulties, that would nowhere be enough. That's one small chunk of it. If you want to find help with your dyslexia, this is really fundamental. If you want help with your dyslexia, you have to find ways to help yourself first. You have to find ways to help yourself first. You can't just look for all the dyslexic help and the dyslexic strategies and just do that. You have to find a way to help yourself first. What I mean by this is, for example, if you think like the world is discriminating against you, you can't have a job, you can't have friends, you know what I mean? You say, okay, the world is so, so rubbish, and my dyslexia is so negative, and it's just everything's so bad, then, like, for example, you won't really pay money to go, to have a dyslexic tutor, you won't really do this, you won't really work on your English, you won't really take the time it takes to improve yourself. That's why you have to work on yourself first. Realise the first thing I have to work on is myself. Get better at living my life. And they can do so many ways, but it's improving myself, and it's critically important. In like the dyslexic help world, there's a big side of it, all the emotional side, which is the feelings, which is like the beliefs, I feel like this, I am like this, and there's a physical side, like reading and writing. And if you only look for the physical side, and then you're leaving out your emotional side, not really working on that, and I call that really working on yourself, the emotional side, because I look at the dyslexic stuff as strategies that you need to improve it, but then the emotional stuff is really core fundamental beliefs that you can install inside yourself to move yourself forward. So we understand that we just have to improve ourselves first, and the way we do it is all decisions, and I hope we're really understanding the power of a decision, how it can massively influence, because the reason why these people are successful, even though they've been through so much rubbish, is the decisions they made, the decisions Frodo made, by choosing to take this ring into Mordor, the decision Luke Skywalker made, say, I'm going to kill Darth Vader. These decisions will define who we are. If they just sat home and say, I'm not going to do that, that's no way possible. I can never do that. If they just sat where they are and not improve, and how do you think it would work? That world wouldn't be so good. That story would be rubbish. This person wouldn't be nearly as strong, nearly as powerful as they are now. And that's the decisions you have to make. You have to make, okay, am I going to sit here, do nothing about it, or am I going to actually do something about it, okay? So let's see, because what I'm saying, let's see, like, if you look at the stats of dyslexia, how these actually decisions play out. So if you look, there's a lot of actually negative stats of dyslexia. 35% of all dyslexics drop out of secondary school. 40% of all people involved in drug and alcohol rehabilitation, getting off the addiction of drug and alcohol, they are dyslexic. 70% of all juvenile delinquents, kids committing crime, are dyslexic. That's incredible. Such negative. Now, when you read it, you think, oh my God, it's so bad. So bad. All these dyslexic mass, so bad. And then if you look on the other side, there's a lot of positive stuff as well. 35% of all entrepreneurs are dyslexic. The people who change the world are dyslexic. 40% of all self-made millionaires. Now, these are self-made. They made it themselves. 40% of them are dyslexic. And guess what? Half the people who work at NASA as space engineers are dyslexic. And there's so many others famous dyslexics out there, like people and obviously stats out there. So incredible. And when you look at these two massive divide between these two sections, you have to ask yourself, why is there one group and why is there the other group? Why are there one group successfully and one group not successfully? And when we look at this and we ask ourselves the questions, why did this happen? What I'm interested in is finding out the core fundamental part of why these individuals are where they are. The core fundamental part that overrides everything else. Like the big factor, the defining factor of what it is. And like when doing the research, you find out, oh yeah, so education is really important about dyslexic when you're young and get diagnosed is really, really, really important. Of course it's really important. You'll be saying, yes, that's why, because of the education system. And I 100% agree and 100% on that. But let's say, is it the education system not diagnosing people young and making things difficult? And then we look at the stats and then we look at, is there a person in the successful category who has really bad education, not diagnosed with dyslexia, you mean until very later on and having no help, no support, you would see, yes, there definitely is. And is there people in the negative category who has had the best education possible? Well, yes, there is. There's a couple of people there, and yeah, there may be a majority one side than the other, but that's not the defining factor. You know what I mean? It's a factor, don't get me wrong, it's a very important factor, but it's not the defining factor. And also, when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about these stats out there, I'm talking about you. Okay, I want to talk about you as a person. Really important. So it's not society. No, it's not education. Let's look into society, okay? Is it society? Is it like the beliefs, the cultural beliefs that we adopt, the habits and the rituals we adopt? Well, if you look around, that kind of isn't it. If you look at their families, yes, they might have some sort of like thing. Yes, if they're more open about special needs and more open about it, yes. People, yes, it can make a difference. But let's look at someone who has the worst family growing up. Have they done well with their dyslexia? Can we find one person in the positive category who had a rubbish family and rubbish society? Yes. Can you find one person in the negative category who has had the negative negative environment, negative growing up? Yes. So it's not that. There's not any other excuses you can come up with about why it's happened, about this thing's happened in their life. And of these excuses, if you look at the two categories, you can always find people in the successful category who has had that negative so-called disadvantage, okay? And they learn to overcome that. So what I learned is that there's two fundamental decisions that control everything. And so when we make the decisions, then everything changed. Because people can be, drug addicted, juvenile delinquent, all these different things. But as soon as they make this one decision, make a real decision, because what a decision is, a decision isn't a decision unless it has action behind, unless you do something about it, okay? So a decision is so powerful. There's two fundamental decisions that dictate where we go in here. And listen, it's so, because once we make this, everything shifts. Everything shifts, our focus shifts. And this decision defines really who we are as a person. It's so important. So the first decision is this: let your dyslexia use you. Let it use you. What I mean by this, when I say let it use you, I mean an indecision is a decision by itself, because you're letting it use you. You're letting these struggles you face just happen to you and say, yes, I've faced these struggles. Yes, I've faced this negative stuff. Yes, it's all bad, but these are happening to me. I can't do anything about it. I've got dyslexia. I've got these difficulties. I can't work on improving. Oh, that's too hard. I can't do that. Yeah, I don't want to work harder than everyone else. All these different things. And then you let it use you. Let the struggles you face use you. And then as you let the struggles use you, you go through the environment, going through schooling, going through all this. And then people people can really see you and maybe make fun of you and maybe say, okay, I'm going to be involved in this crowd because this crowd doesn't care about me, my grades, my this, my that, and the wrong crowd escalates up. Does that make sense? You can see how one decision can negatively affect that. That's the first decision. Let your dyslexia use you. Or the second decision, decide to use your dyslexia. This is so powerful. When I say decide to use your dyslexia, simply this: don't define yourself by your dyslexia. Don't define your abilities by your dyslexia. You decide that you will not let dyslexia stop you getting what you want in life. And you see these struggles, and it's not something it's not something that will stop you doing things. It's just struggles that you have to overcome, things that you have to get better at. Okay, I really hope you understand this. This is so powerful. These are core decisions. So I'm going to finish this up here with, what one are you going to choose? What one have you been living to use your dyslexia or to let your dyslexia use you? Core fundamental decisions that we live by. And you look at it in the past, and the way you do it is you don't look at, have I made this decision consciously? You look at it through your actions. What actions have you been taking? Have you been taking actions when the struggle happens, you just don't do it? Moaning, complaining, all this. Yeah, now if you have been doing it, it's completely fine. I'm not saying, you shouldn't have done that, because it's natural sometimes to feel like that, especially if you're brought up in a certain way. But to conquer your dyslexia, you have to make one decision. And I think you know what one it is. You have to decide to use your dyslexia. Decide to use it. not to let dyslexia use you, okay? And if you want to carry on listening to this podcast, I highly recommend that you are committed to using your dyslexia. Not just letting it use you, not just letting the struggles overcome you. When I say use it, not everything will be fixed like that. You may not know how to fix certain issues or certain problems that you have. You may not know how to, but you know you are going to. You know you're on the process of doing it, okay? You're on the process of doing it. And yes, things might not work, but you will not give up. Yes, things are hard. Yes, you may not stop doing this for the day, but carry on doing it. Carry on being this person that will not give up on it, okay? So what decision have you been making? And make a decision now of, you can let your dyslexia use you, or you can use your dyslexia. Because people can be drug addicted, have worse like life circumstances, and then make a decision. Everything has changed. Quit smoking, get off drugs, get off, going to prison constantly. All these different things that they can make a decision and massively change. Guys, I hope we really understand the power of this. Take care, guys, and bye.